Cream was billing out 10 to 20 grand. I feel above the law. But you could make even more money doing this if you paid doctors. My parents gave me two choices. I could either go in the military. The other option was go to Bible college. So I went to Bible college instead to study to be a minister.
What's wrong with regular college? No,
They didn't want the bad influences, which is crazy because my story starts here and then it goes way in that direction anyway, but they were worried about bad influences. Where my story gets important was in college. When I was 20 years old, I was hit with like a major depressive episode, pretty much out of nowhere. And I don't find out till later that I'm bipolar, but at this point, I tried one medication during that time. It gave me like horrible side effects, so I quit taking it. So my very first manic episode, though, I call it like a baby manic episode, but I did get kicked out of Bible college during this episode. It's not even anything crazy. I was traveling for the college, doing evangelist work, and because I was manic, like when you're manic, there's like a lot of impulsivity. You have grandiose thinking. Your confidence is through the roof. And I thought I knew better than the school, so I started. It was like teaching Bible school basically at these big churches, but I started teaching my own curriculum and threw out their whole curriculum, made up my own, and they found out about it. My partner ratted me out, and I got kicked out of school.
what was the difference between your curriculum? Were you still teaching the same thing, or did you suddenly?
Well,
Was it something?
I kind of got tired of the music they had, so I brought my guitar and made it a little more Christian rockish. Just started teaching I just didn't. I don't know. It was their curriculum was boring to me, so I tried to make it more interesting.
So you weren't translating the Bible into something like in this verse, you know. I think that Joseph may have had a separate family.
No,
you know?
I didn't.
It wasn't like that. And they're
No.
and suddenly it breaks off into your own branch.
I wasn't like Joseph Smith making
Right.
my own Mormon religion or anything. No, nothing like that. But I still got kicked out. So I ended up graduating from a different college, Trinity, in Jacksonville, Florida.
Okay.
So really from there, probably the only important things about my story is in college, I met my college sweetheart. So we got married at 21. Obviously the way we were raised, we were both each other's firsts on our wedding night. I didn't become a minister.
Right.
I did it for a few months, but I was like, this isn't what I want to do. So I got into finance instead after that and kind of like worked my way up to being a financial advisor. When I'm not manic, I'm just more of a regular introverted person.
Right.
So, but then when I hit 26 years old, that's when I had my first major manic episode. And at first I really loved the feeling. You know, I had like this huge burst of confidence, burst of energy. I'm, waking up earlier. I'm working out really early. I'm getting to work an hour early to impress management. I was crushing at work. I was, the top advisor at that point. So things are going good, I thought. But from there, it kind of got bad. I started going into like a bit of a spending spree. My wife kind of noticed a change in me because, I'm speaking faster. I'm, trying to buy a third vehicle when we don't need it, trying to buy a second house when we don't need it. And all these, I find out later, are symptoms of bipolar. But then also like my sex drive like went through the roof, and I'd only been with her until I was 26 years old. But I met a girl at work and ended up, and I didn't drink at this time really. I had never done drugs, never been to a club, so very, very straight and narrow. But I ended up going out with that girl. We go to dinner. I'd have my first tequila, my first margarita, all these firsts basically. But I get a little drunk, and this is probably what I'm most, ashamed of in my story. But I end up getting a hotel with that girl, and then cheating on my wife.
And your wife finds out?
No, I went home and told her the next day. This is where mania might not make sense to you. I when I'm manic, I'm very narcissistic. So I went home and told her, and I regretted it so much later, but I didn't even regret it at the time.
You regretted telling her?
No, not at all. Like I regretted the whole thing later, but when I did it, I was just told her very matter-of-factly, that I did it, and I packed my stuff and I moved out.
Oh, okay. You didn't expect her be like okay with it? Like,
No,
hey,
no. She was
my bad.
No, it's terrible. She was, bawling. But yeah,
You didn't do a whole forgive me, I'm sorry, nothing.
No.
You just said, I slept with this other woman. I'm gonna pack my bag. Like, you're basically, were you saying like it's over?
Yeah, because I
I'm
got
in love with this other girl.
no,
Or-
I got like a taste of this life,
Okay.
and I was like, okay, I just want to party now. So basically, I just move out and I go from not drinking at all to partying pretty much 6 nights a week.
Were you making good money?
I was making good money, yeah.
Because you're making enough money, you might expect your wife to just kind of deal with it. Like, listen, I'm making $500,000 a year.
Oh no, not that
and I
much.
feel bad, but let's face it, you're not going anywhere.
No, nothing crazy. I was making more like 100.
Give me a few months.
It's
I'll
more
be
like
back.
100 back then.
Okay.
But I guess that's a lot for back then.
Yeah.
And this was your first Manic episode?
My first major one.
Major.
I had the smaller one where I got kicked out of school,
Right.
And then I call it the first major one because, I mean, the stuff I started doing was just completely out of character.
And how long does that kind of, for this time period, that Manic episode last? Is it like a week? Is it a day?
So different people are different. With bipolar, mine typically lasted a few months at
Right.
a time.
So I was locked up with a guy named Frank Amado. And Frank Amado was a disbarred attorney who had kind of turned into like a venture capitalist, right? Like he was, but with more of an emphasis on tax law. So his venture capitalist, model was to go in and take over a company and threaten to place everybody, all renegotiate by saying, we're going to go into bankruptcy. So he would use the bankruptcy laws and the threat of that to renegotiate and make the company whole again, where he almost never put them in his bankruptcy. Just the threat of it would terrify everybody. And they'd start reducing what they owed them and hold off for 3 months for them to restructure. Anyway, so he was a rapid cycling.
Yep.
It was a level 5 rapid cycling bipolar with features of schizophrenia.
Ooh,
and
that gets interesting.
he would, and keep in mind this, he's a lawyer, and I met him, and he's the reason I got 12 years. My sentence was 26 years. He got me 12 years knocked off my sentence.
I remember hearing about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's insane. I mean, it's completely insane, though, by the way. I mean, like, normal, you talk to him, and then he'd have these little manic. So when you're saying it lasts, weeks or months, for him, he literally would have an episode in front of you, and everybody was so used to it that they would all just kind of like, just, and they just sit there and go,
It's just
and
him.
yeah. And he would go off on this whole, you'd be talking to him normal. And I'm thinking of a specific time when he had looked at all my stuff and I'd said, look, this is what the government said. The government said this. They promised me this. They said this. Now they're saying kick rocks. They're not going to reduce my sentence. And he'd go, see, this is why when my legions march on Washington, I'm going to burn the Constitution and the president will kneel at my feet. And he'd sit there, and I'm sitting there. This is the first time I talked to him, and I'm sitting there like, "Holy shit!" And everybody's like my buddy's like, "Oh," and he would go, "Sorry, okay. What I'm gonna need you to get a copy of your docket sheet. I'm gonna need a 2255 form. Turk, can you get a copy of his transcripts?" And then guys start just writing it down. I mean, he was brilliant, but he had these moments. But because he was so brilliant. And he's a trained lawyer in prison, everybody dealt with it. They just dealt with it. They were okay with it. Okay, he'll calm down in a minute. He'll calm down in a minute. And sometimes it would last for 3 or 4 or 5 minutes. And the way he actually drank Pepsi constantly. So to keep himself from going into a depression, he would drink soda. And we're talking about 2 6-packs. He'd drink it and then just kind of maintain his mood for, let's say, an hour or so while he taught a class, and then he would, go into a slight depression, and he'd go and lay down and fall asleep he'd take a quick nap for an hour and come back and wake up and feel great and be back. I mean,
That's very rapid cycling.
Yes, it was straight insanity. But like I said, he was brilliant and a really nice guy and helped everybody out. And
Hopefully he was
super
never
smart.
in court when he had a manic episode like that. That could go really badly.
I mean, he had an ongoing delusion. And this is when it's and it's so funny because when I'm saying all this isn't like self-diagnosed. This is the state of Florida sending, well, one, the federal government sent him to the Harvard something hospital where he was, whatever you call it, studied for a week or so. And they came back and said, this is the problem. And they explained what happened. That's when he was diagnosed prior to that, but they really explained what was going on. He'd been diagnosed, I think, after he graduated law school. He had fallen down a flight of stairs or something and went to the hospital, and like they kept him overnight, and the next day when they wanted to release him, he wouldn't leave. And he stayed there for like a week.
So he probably had brain trauma.
So, well, no, it was, I don't know about brain trauma. He just was depressed. He couldn't, they were like, something's wrong. Like he was like, my whole body hurts.
Okay.
Because mental illness at that time, this was in the 80s or 90s, and it wasn't as understood, I think. And physically having physical pain or physically being unable to get out of bed isn't something you would think of as mental illness.
Right.
They thought he must, they thought he had, I forget what it was, where it's, they thought he had this, maybe this is wrong or that's wrong. He's got pneumonia. He's got this. They didn't know what the problem was, and nobody. His wife was like, well, he's depressed. They're like, yeah, that wouldn't be it. Now we know, no, that could be it. He won't leave his house, or he won't get out of bed, or he won't.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, super interesting. So when you're saying yours lasts like that long, I dated a girl that would have those, like, it'd be like a day or two. She would have like a manic, but not to the extent. See, his continuing delusion, he has a continuing, I don't know which, I'm going to say delusion. I'm sure that's not the right word. But then this is why they say it's with features of schizophrenia is because he says since he was in his teens, he has believed that God has told him and is speaking to him, that telling him that he is this is how he says it, by the way. So it sounds a little crazy. That's not me. He is preordained to be emperor of the world.
Sounds like psychosis type thinking.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of an underlying theme to his life. And he'll joke about it. He'll laugh about it. He knows it sounds crazy.
Yeah.
He knows the psychiatrists say it's partial schizophrenia or psychosis, whatever. He says that and jokes about it. But and when you're sitting there and you're talking to him, he's like, well, that's the problem, is that because of the bipolar condition, they equate that to the bipolar condition as opposed to what it really is. And I'm as opposed to, well, what is it? And he'll say that God's talking to me. And it's like, oh, okay. And yet you're having a normal conversation. He'll talk to you about your legal work. He's brilliant.
Yeah.
And you're like, you're brilliant, but you really believe this. And he's like, well, yeah, I don't focus on that. And you're like, I feel like I have to. Yeah. But then what do you say? He got 12 years knocked off by sentence.
Yeah.
I saw him doing guys.
Respect the man.
Right. If you're a homeowner in America, you need to listen to this. The FBI has been warning about a type of real estate fraud on the rise called title theft, and your equity is the target. Here's how it works. Criminals forge your signature on a single document, use a fake notary stamp, and file it with the county. And just like that, on record, they own your home. Using your ownership, they can take out loans against your equity or even sell your property. And you won't know about it until foreclosure or collections start showing up in the mail. That's why I've partnered with Home Title Lock, so you can protect your equity and find out today if you've already been a victim. Use my promo code MATT at HometitleLock.com, and you'll get a free title history report and a free trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. That's 24/7 monitoring of your title's records, urgent alerts to any changes, and if fraud occurs, their U.S.-based restoration team will spend up to $1 million to fix it. Don't be a victim. Protect your equity today. Once again, that's HomeTitleLock.com, promo code Matt, or use the link below. So when you're saying, yours lasted that long,
Yep.
I could only imagine the damage that Frank could do if his lasted that long.
Although the good thing is mine wasn't ever full-blown psychosis like
Right,
that.
you're not delusional.
I never became completely delusional.
Right.
There was very grandiose thinking, and I didn't ever think about consequences or repercussions, but I never got completely delusional like that.
So what's happening? You're thinking during this time. You're thinking. So you left your wife.
Yep,
You've decided, hey, I'm going to live a different life. You're still going to work, right?
I am. Yep.
You're still paying your bills. You
I
get an
am.
apartment.
Yep. Well, I can give you an example of where the delusion goes, because probably the next thing I did that made no sense is I started hanging out with these foreign nannies in Jacksonville, au pairs. They all hang out together.
Is there a hangout? Like, how do you find?
Well, so the
Is there a club?
Well, the families all find these au pairs online. They're all foreign, so there's like 30 of them, and they all I think they bond because they're all au pairs.
Yeah.
So it's like this mini Miss Universe hangout or whatever. And somehow I got sucked into the au pair group. I was originally talking to a German one, and but then I met this Mexican one, and when you're manic, you fall in love very fast, right? So I quickly fell in love with the Mexican nanny. I'm still married though. I'm working on the divorce, but I filed in the wrong county. I'm an idiot when I'm manic. So, but we kind of fall in love fast, or at least I think we do. And then she springs on me. She's like, I have to go home. My visa's going to be up. And I was like, what can we do? And she's like, well, we could get married if you want to. So I decide, okay, I'm going to marry her. She doesn't know that I'm still married though. So I jump on a plane, I fly to Mexico. I'm practicing my broken Spanish, and I ask her mom's permission to marry her. And they all throw this big party for us in Mexico, the whole mariachi and all that. And little did they know I'm still married at the time. But yeah, that's a good example of mania, I guess.
So where did you? I don't understand. You say you fall into. How did you meet this group of people?
I met them through
au pairs?
I met them through partying at this club. So I met the German one first, and
I just feel like you're going into a club. You're like, hey, this is an au pair club.
I fell into it. I got lucky that I met the German one, and she introduced me to all her friends, which were also au pairs. There's Brazilians, Colombian, just au pairs from everywhere, basically.
Okay. So so do you come back here to get married? Do you get married?
We were getting close to that.
Oh.
We went ring shopping, but then I got hit with another major depressive episode, and so that plan fell apart.
2 wives that hit you.
Yeah,
You realized.
In a way, that was no, it didn't even hit me. She couldn't understand the change in me from the manic, really fun side to the depressed side. And so we kind of called off getting married and all that, even though I couldn't have technically got married because I was not fully divorced. So, but my depression got so bad. This is the worst my depression got. So I actually, became suicidal at that point. And again, there was nothing wrong in my life that caused the depression. I was happy,
Right?
Or so I thought.
But aren't you feeling like something's wrong? Are you feeling like, hey, something's wrong? I was feeling really good 2 days ago, and I just can't.
I could tell something's wrong.
Do you think you're sick? Do you know I'm depressed, or you just
I knew I was depressed because I've been depressed before, but I didn't know how to stop it. And this depression was particularly bad because I want to be in bed all the time, but I can't fall asleep either. So it's like a cruel thing. I'm exhausted. I can't sleep at all. So that's making things worse. And with that, I'm still going to work, but I'm at the bottom of the advisor rankings because with my depression, like I was telling you, I can't think very well. I can't remember simple things. My mind gets slow as molasses, I call it, at least 10 times slower. So the mental pain from that depression was just so intense that I wanted it to end, basically.
How long does that go on?
So this depression episode went on for a couple months, again.
And the girl's gone. At this point, she takes off the Mexican girl.
At this point, we had taken a break, basically, because like I wasn't myself anymore. So we kind of just took a break. And she did end up, during that episode, she ended up having to go back to Mexico because we didn't get married. So yeah, it's just me now. But yeah, I finally had a moment of clarity that I didn't want to die, and I didn't know what to do. So I packed a bag and I drove myself to the nearest mental hospital. It's called Wakiva Springs in Jacksonville, and I was really scared to go in. Like I remember being at the door, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to be stuck here forever. Like, are they going to say I'm insane? But I was like, I have to give my life a chance. So I went in the mental hospital. They open my bag, they take out, I can't have my belt, can't have your string, your sweater strings out. They take a bunch of my stuff, no shoelaces. And they checked me in there. But that was the best thing I could have done. And I always tell people that are, in that situation, it's better to do that, than the alternative. Because while I was there, I finally got diagnosed by a psychiatrist with bipolar. Because I had only gone to the doctor for my depression before, but when he understood the whole thing with my wife, trying to get married again, I've never partied, but I'm partying 6 nights a week. I'm struggling at work. I'm out till 2, 3 a.m. and then going to work. Hungover it's just very out of character. So when I explained everything, he finally diagnosed me as bipolar and put me on my first bipolar depressive med. Which bipolar meds are different typically than like regular depressive meds. Okay.
And does it work?
So it worked. Yeah, I started being able to sleep again, and it worked enough. Like I wasn't fully over my depression, but I wasn't ill anymore. So I don't remember. It was like 4 or 5 days that I was there. And then, I got out, and he said, he wanted to just put me on the depressive medication. But then he said when I got out, he was going to put me on a medicine for mania as well. And they did. They put me on lithium, which works for a lot of people. But for me, it turned me into like a walking zombie, like a shell of myself. So I quit taking it after a few days. And I was thrown right back into another major manic episode pretty quickly after getting out of the mental hospital.
So I dated a girl that was bipolar. And actually, I had a buddy who was bipolar. And neither one of them would take their medication. Like she took her medication one time for probably 2 or 3 weeks, maybe a month. And then one day I started noticing something's not quite right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then within 3 or 4 days, she was full blown manic. Manic and just, and manic in an angry way. She's screaming and hollering and I was a horrible person and I this and that. And then, of course, I'm like, and then the worst thing to say is, are you taking your medication?
Yeah.
That's not, she didn't want to hear that.
They get mad.
Yeah. And she's blown up. And then, of course, that goes on for a few days. And then she, then I'm pack my bags and I'm leaving. And then she agrees to get back on it. She gets back on it for a few weeks. And what happened was she explained that after a certain period of time, she's like, I just felt like I didn't need it anymore. And she was like, I didn't, and my buddy told me this. This is funny. He used to say this. He said, the problem is that, yes, I'm like this. Mm-hmm. He said, and the medication makes me feel like this, which is how most people feel.
Yep.
He said, but I don't get this anymore. And he said, I'll give you 2 lows for 1 high. He said, like the high is so good. The manic makes me feel so good. I'll go through 2 depressions for just 1 manic episode. And he was like, that's the problem, is that I never get to feel that anymore. And he's like, and it's so good. He said it was so good to him. He said, I'll just deal with the lows. And I was like, that's crazy. I was like, real, but the lows, you won't leave your apartment. He's like, doesn't matter. You don't understand. You ever have one of those moments when you think, this could go really bad? I remember one time when I was in the bank and I was arrested on suspicion of bank fraud. And I found myself in front of a couple of detectives answering questions. And it reminded me of how quickly life can change. That's why I like to stay sharp. And Cashapp makes that easy. It's a whole body meal packed with good stuff that keeps me fueled and ready for anything. They just dropped a brand new flavor and it's made with real freeze-dried strawberries. The first time I tried it, it honestly tasted like a supercharged strawberry milkshake, but without the junk. Just clean, plant-based nutrition. Cashapp has 85 plus superfoods and nutrients, plus 25 grams of plant-based protein. No soy, no gluten, no preservatives, just fuel your body actually needs. I drink it for breakfast or lunch when I'm in a hurry, and it helps keep me full and focused for the interviews. You've never tasted strawberries like this. Go to Cashapp.com and use code ITC for 15% off your next order. That's KACHAVA.com, code ITC for 15% off.
For me personally, I would disagree with that because my lows, I don't, so I can't speak for how good his highs were versus lows, but my lows were so bad, I would not trade them. But at the same time, I understand, like, he's not the only one that says that, like, a lot of people, when they're stable on their meds, they really miss the highs. And one of the main things you hear is my life's kind of boring now, is what a lot of manic people, a lot of bipolar people say. Yeah. Because
she was like, it's just my life. It sucks on the med. I'm like, yeah, but that's how you're supposed to. It's normal.
Yeah.
Everybody feels that way. And she was like, no, I don't enjoy myself. I can't enjoy my life on that medication. It was like,
it's hard to explain, but when you're manic, you're the man, basically.
Yeah.
In your mind, you have the most confidence.
Oh yeah, he was going to take over the world, bro.
Yeah,
he was going to be a fucking billionaire. You know, this guy was unstoppable when he was off the meds.
And being manic is really fun at first, and I say it's fun until it's not, because it starts out fun. But if some people go into psychosis, or some people blow up their lives, which you'll hear later. I completely blew up my life,
right.
but it starts out exciting and fun at first. So I totally understand what he's saying.
So you, how long did you stay in the hospital?
Like 4 or 5 days.
Oh, that's not bad.
It was short, but so I
was thinking a month.
Well, no, because I checked myself in, I think it was different. If I would have been committed, I probably would have had to stay longer. But they let me, tell them I felt good enough to leave.
So, but now you've got medication.
I've got medication, and then that was for the depression. Then they gave me the lithium for the mania.
But you don't want to take that.
After a few days, it was like, hell no.
Why not take less of it? Why not just drop the amount?
They start you on a low amount. I'm very sensitive to meds, so it took me years to find something that worked for me, and this is very common for bipolar people. Like, that's another reason people quit taking their meds, is they don't like how the meds make them feel or the side effects.
I'm assuming it's not Pepsi. No. Okay.
No.
So what happens then? Are you still working? I mean, have you still got a job at this point?
Yeah, I'm still working at this point, but this is where I started doing drugs for the first time. So my first drug, I skipped altogether. I was always just strictly an uppers person. Molly and X were like the first things I started doing. That was more like, this is, I think, around the 2012 timeframe, where electronic music's big, like Avicii's coming out. I'm going to Miami to see David Guetta, Tiesto, but I wasn't addicted to those. I was really just doing those on the weekend, basically.
So I was going to say, from the little church, little Christian town to balling on X.
Yeah, it gets way worse than that.
Raves.
It gets way worse than that.
How do you decide? Like, what's that decision for you the first time? Like, are you trying to chase that manic high, or?
Just my friend, one of my best friends was a pharmacist, and I trusted her because she's a pharmacist. She's like, hey, I got this fire, Molly. Do you want to go to Miami and try it?
It's not good. It's not.
No, so I was like, when you're manic, you're impulsive. I would try most anything, especially from a pharmacist. She's also the first person that gave me blow as well. I was like, because I
feel like she should be in charge of a pharmacy. I feel like she should be having access to that kind of.
Man. She was a good pharmacist when she was at work, but maybe not outside. But No, but blow was the first thing that really got me addicted. I'd been a little nervous to try it because I was like, man, I don't want to put something up my nose. That's a little scary.
Right.
But when the pharmacist girl had it, I was like, all right, let's try this stuff.
It's gotta be legit.
Yeah, I felt like Ric Flair. I let out this big woo. And I loved it from the beginning. I was like in love with the stuff, just chasing the high all the time. So yeah, that's when I really started using a lot because the Molly and the X I could control that. That was just a festival or a weekend thing.
How long does this go on before like you lose your job or you quit or what do you do?
Yeah. So that's where the crime. Now we get to the crime. So so through partying, I meet these party friends, and the way they party is a whole the level I want to be at because I'm like. I'm at a lower level.
Yeah.
They're getting VIP like every night that they go out,
right.
And I'm like, okay, I want to do this too, So in talking to them, I end up meeting the guy who became my boss, basically, and he finally was like, hey, let's go to Whataburger. It's like this Texas burger joint. He's like, I guess he trusted me enough. He's like, I'll explain, how we're making money. So yeah, we get there and he pulls out this script pad and he starts asking me if I know anyone that's either in the military or that has TRICARE insurance, government insurance. And I said, yeah, like my stepdad was in the military. I know a lot of people in the military. And he basically was telling me that these things are called compounding creams. Have you heard of them?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so compounded creams just simply are a cream or lotion with a bunch of ingredients like blended together into a cream. But why they were working with these is they bill out like an exorbitant, large amount of money to an insurance company. They're not like that expensive to make. But all the other insurance companies had kind of wised up to not paying a lot for these creams, which I don't even know if the creams worked. But the government insurance was still billing full freight. So they were paying out like 10 to 20 grand per cream, and we could get a commission off of that, basically.
So how does that work? So somebody with that insurance goes to the doctor, tells them whatever, my hand's hurt or something, my elbow hurts, and I've had this prescribed before, or what do you? I've heard about this cream, and then they prescribe a cream. And then the cream gets ordered from
the pharmacy.
From the pharmacy.
Yeah.
And your buddies are making the cream and the pharmacy's selling it?
You pretty much, you got the gist of it basically. So
put that together pretty good, right? So you guys are like mixing it up in the bathtub?
I'm not the one making it.
And they're squeezing it in, and then they give it to the pharmacy and say, that's $1,000.
This is a real pharmacy that's doing it. They don't only do the creams; they do other stuff too. But the creams are what we target because they bill out the most. So basically, we had these script pads, right? And there's the different things that the cream are for. They're for like scars, pain, migraines, a bunch of different things. Again, I don't know that they really worked, right. But yeah. So you would like what you were saying. You could basically try to get your friends to go to the doctor to get the creams. Now, most people won't just go to the doctor if I say, hey, try this cream. So you pay them under the table to go to the doctor and get the cream. Because I was making a 20% cut typically on each cream. Mm-hmm. And if the cream billed out 10 to 20K, I'm making $2 to $4 grand per cream. So if one person went and got a 6-month prescription, I'm making $2 to $4 grand a month just off that one person's prescription. It's an insane amount.
Right. So if you could build up to 10 people doing this.
Yeah, I think I had at the most I had like 20 or so people.
So how are you finding these people?
Well, you find people. It's not that hard. You find people that are in the military or that have the military insurance. Basically,
I don't know what anybody's insurance is. I don't know what Colby's got.
But anyone that. So you can ask. You can.
You're just looking for guys with buzz cuts. Are you?
Okay, so I knew a lot of people that were ex-military. Like even like the first guy that that I went to was from my gym. I knew he had been in the military. And a lot of it's just asking around, just asking people that you kind of know if they know anyone or if they're in the military. Whereas some of the guys at my work were kind of crazy. They were just on the military base trying to sling the creams, which is stupid. You could easily get caught. I was more like trying to go through people I knew or people, 1 degree away from that. But yeah, the first guy was a guy at my gym, and I offered to pay him $500 a month if he could get this cream, which, a lot of people will do that. I'm pocketing the rest. But so we have these script pads from the pharmacy, and I know this sounds crazy. I even have a picture of it I can show you, but we were writing out the prescription with the highest milligrams, and it's from the pharmacy. It's their legit prescription pad. And then on the bottom, it has the doctor's information that they fill out, like their DEA number, their license number, their all their information. So we wrote out the prescription. The doctor just fills out the bottom, and their office information is at the top.
Well, how is that happening? How are you getting these pads?
Well, they're from the pharmacy. We're basically working. I'm basically W-2'd through the pharmacy. Like as a rep. I'm basically a pharma rep.
Okay.
So we worked at we were basically working at a marketing company for that pharmacy. So we had the pads from the pharmacy, and we would send them into the doctor's office with the prescription and be like, hey, tell the doctor that your buddy, tried this prescription. It worked really well for him, and you want to try it. And not every doctor is going to write it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the first doctor I sent him to, the doctor signed off on it. They just filled out their information at the bottom. Then the doctor faxes it into the pharmacy, and then I end up getting my commission on that. So it sounded too good to be true at first, when my boss was like explaining all this to me. But he meets me up afterwards with cash. He gave me an envelope with cash. I'm like, holy shit, this is like the easiest money I've ever made.
What happened to the fidelity?
I quit pretty quickly. I was like, holy shit, I can. After I got a few more people, I quit Fidelity. I was like,
yeah, forget the 401k and the medical and all the benefits. This is where it's
again,
at.
I'm also manic and on drugs,
Right.
so my thought process is nothing. So when you're manic, the best way I can describe it is it's very hedonistic, pleasure-seeking mindset. So you don't think about medical insurance or 401k or anything normal people think about. You think about, how can I get VIP to party? How can I hook up with as many girls as, like, your thinking is just pleasure-seeking.
Right.
It's not anything practical, basically.
I feel like these conversations where you're approaching these people are starting with psst. Psst. Let me talk to you over here.
It was a lot easier than you think. But then also, okay, so the next thing I'll say is my company tried to make an appearance that this was legal. So we had an office. My boss is this, and when I met my boss, he's like this he's already been very successful in life already doing things legally. I don't really know how he got started in this particular scam. But when I go into the office, it's not what I expect at all. Like when I walk in the office, I'm the only white dude in the office. Like, I guess I'm thinking like white collar crime,
Right.
Other dudes in suits, but it's all these like dudes in like tracksuits and just like, like more like gangster looking. I was expecting a different kind of operation, but yeah, it was like this interesting mixture of all different types of characters that were working here. It's an office, but half the people are definitely not dressed like going to work. And we had an insurance company across the hall. They're probably like, who are these characters that are in this office? It was just a weird office for sure.
Do any of these guys that you approach, do they say like, yeah, no, I'm not? Like, they give you a hard time, or?
Yeah, not everyone will say yeah, but most people did it, honestly.
Right.
And what do you say? You just say, hey, you want to make an extra $500 a month?
No, you just start it with psst. Psst.
No, you start with, hey, this might be a weird question, but do you have any like scars or pain or migraines? Because if you can't just go to the doctor and
Right.
ask for a prescription unless you show them a scar.
Yeah.
But the scar cream billed out the most. But my goal was to get someone to get a scar cream and a migraine cream, or like double them up. So, but with migraines, you don't have to prove you have a migraine. Like, you could just, and there's like this cream you put on your head. Like, I don't even know if those things work. I doubt it. But
it's like the doctor shoppers, right? Like you say, hey, you know, like you send them to, you sponsor. They call them sponsoring. They send them to get an MRI. Everybody's got a problem with their back.
Yeah.
You know, and then they pay for them to go to the doctor with the MRI, and then the doctor writes them the script, and then they pay them to go. They go get the script, and they pay them. So these guys are making $1,000. The doctor shoppers will make $1,000, $2,000 a month. They're not really taking any pills. You know, they might have to take one pill just before they go see the doctor, because some of the doctors would actually do like a piss test to make sure that they had the compound in their system, because they knew something's not right.
Yeah.
But yeah, for $2,000, I missed an extra $12,000 a year, and I'm not feel like I'm really. And you don't really feel like. I remember this one guy I wrote a book about. Was doing doctor shopping, and he was like, He's like, some of them are drug addicts, but he's most of them don't feel like they're doing anything wrong. Like they're like, I went to the doctor. I do have something wrong with my back. They gave me a script. I'm going to normal. This is just the normal course of business. People do this all the time. What's the big deal?
Yeah, because a lot of the people I sent did have legit like scars and things like that.
I've had a headache.
But where it becomes wrong is the kickbacks is where it's wrong.
There you go. Right.
Once you're exchanging money for someone going to the doctor, that's where it becomes illegal. If I was a regular pharma rep and I'm just getting you to go to the doctor, nothing wrong with that. But the money is where it's wrong. But my boss, to make it appear legal, he was like, okay, I want you to also be a legit pharmaceutical sales rep. So I was actually going into doctors' offices, trying to get them to do doctors' lunches and trying to get doctors to write legit prescriptions, knowing that we wouldn't make much off of like Blue Cross or any of these regular insurance companies, but hopefully there'd be a TRICARE prescription mixed in there. But then it also gave the front that we were
the veil of legitimacy.
Yeah. And this is Manic Me. I kind of watched that movie, that Jake Gyllenhaal movie, Love and Other Drugs, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna be like that. So I start bringing in flowers to the receptionists and chocolates and flirting with them and trying to get doctors' meetings, and I was like copying that movie basically.
They just did a movie about pharmaceutical reps pushing,
Pain Hustlers.
Yes.
That movie is so similar, but we were not doing opioids. When I watched it, I was like, thank God I wasn't doing stuff that could kill people. Like, I don't even know if our creams worked, but that movie is very close to our story.
They're bringing in stuff and bags and gifts and taking.
Yeah.
What about that one guy who's out of the strip mall? He was pulling. It's like a rusted out, beat the crap 10-year-old Nova he's driving when he first gets there, and a year later he's pulling in a $100,000, $200,000 Mercedes or something.
Yeah.
I forget what he was driving. Might have been a sports car, but whatever. He was balling all of a sudden.
Right. Yeah, that movie is similar, except the difference is no opioids.
And it's funny too that they have the like, hey, like the kickbacks were hidden, where they're like, you'll be doing a like a keynote. You'll be the keynote speaker, so that we can pay him to be a keynote speaker at this event where there's 6 people.
Yeah.
At an old folks' home.
Right.
We're gonna pay you to come in and talk about it. Here's your It's funny. It's like, it's always like, oh, it doesn't always have to be an envelope full of cash. It can be something completely that's benign and that you typically would do in the course of doing business. It could be a junket, right? It could be, hey, we're gonna fly you and your wife out for the weekend, and we're gonna have a class on Saturday and a class on Sunday, and you're gonna stay at this 5-star resort.
Yeah.
And you're gonna be flown in a private plane. It's like, okay, this whole thing, this is a $5 or $6 or $10,000 package that they're giving me.
Yep.
Is it cash? No.
Right. There's so much gray area stuff that gets done, and for sure. Ours wasn't gray area. But the weird thing is, like most criminals look into consequences for what they're doing.
Right.
I never did, because when I'm manic, I feel above the law. Like, I never thought there was any chance I could ever get caught.
But you're still paying. I'm sorry, not paying. You're still taking the medication to keep you from slipping into depression, or you're not taking
I was
it?
taking the one for depression, but not for mania.
Okay.
At this point,
So it's all upside. It's all mania.
it's a long upside. No, later on, I got hit with enough of a depression that even the medication didn't quite control it. And there were a few times I went off my meds. So there's
Why? You just felt like I didn't need it, or
I wanted to party harder,
Right.
and if I didn't want to have to sleep because the depression medication the one I was taking was called Seroquel, but it doubles as a sleeping thing. So I was like, shit, like I'm in Vegas, I don't want to sleep at all. So
All right.
so there were times I just quit taking it, but you could make even more money doing this if you paid doctors. I didn't have any good doctor relationships, but the people that made the most money at my company were paying doctors under the table to write these cream prescriptions.
right? Just start everybody that comes in with a headache or
And they're
within a
probably,
car
obviously
accident.
the doctor's probably getting a much higher, maybe half or a bigger cut to make it worth it. But yeah, there were people at my company paying doctors also. So some doctors got busted later on for this stuff too.
Can you imagine you're writing? Well, if the script, they're billing out the insurance company for $4,000.
Yep.
And they're
well,
getting-
the insurance company is getting billed out 10 to 20, and I'm getting 20% of that. A cream was billing out 10 to 20 grand, and I'm getting 2,000 to 4,000 per cream, and then my boss or the company's taking the rest.
Well, who's making the cream? Because that's the guy.
The pharmacy, they're
They're
making
the ones.
the money.
They're making a ton of money.
Oh yeah, but they kind
I picture
they're
Walt.
making millions.
I
They're making
picture
millions.
Walt and Jess in their yellow hazmat suits
making creams.
in the RV. I mean, squeezing it into the bottles, and oh my gosh.
And we were not the only people doing this. If you Google compounding fraud, we're definitely not the only people. We just got busted in the worst way, which I'll talk about later. But the guy that owns the pharmacy is making the most money, kind of. And then basically the bosses of my company, because they're getting, I'm getting basically if I'm getting like they were basically getting the other half on like each prescription.
Mm-hmm.
So they're rolling it in. They're making millions.
So it's funny because most people don't realize like pharmacists can actually make medication. Most people think, oh no, it gets shipped in from Pfizer.
Yeah.
Which it does, but the bulk of it does.
Yeah.
Where it gets shipped in, but pharmacists can also, take the compounds and create a lot of the medications themselves. And I guess the cream is one of those medications. I would think that it would come from from Purdue or, from somebody else. But I guess
the
they
ingredient, maybe like the gabapentin and because there's like gabapentin, prilocaine, lighter, like all these different ingredients. So I don't know where the ingredients come from, but yeah, there are some pharmacies that are mainly compounding pharmacies. Like, yeah, there's a lot of compounding pharmacies out there.
They're in the back. You have to throw Walt and Jess mixing up. You got to throw that in there. So
I already made a note
Breaking
for that.
Bad
Like,
too.
That might be in the little intro. Yeah.
Breaking Bad too, right here.
Well, I mean, did you ever at any point did you realize this could go bad, or did you hear about people getting arrested or not? And how long does this go on for?
So I was involved in the fraud for about a year. So I wasn't manic the whole time. I was definitely manic at the start. I hit like a stable point between that. So I knew what I was doing was wrong, right? Or at least at first I thought, like when I was manic, I was like, this is a major gray area. But then I realized it's wrong. So I knew it was wrong. But again, you're in this total pleasure-seeking money mode, and you don't think you're going to get caught. So I take responsibility. I knew it was wrong. But of course, when you're manic also, it's just so much easier to make these decisions, these stupid decisions.
Right.
But yeah, it went on for a year, I think.
And what was the most people you had, you said?
I probably had like 20 at one time. It's on and off because some people get 6-month prescriptions, some people get 1 or 3, depending on what the doctor writes. But in that year, I made over 500,000, which was on. There were people making millions though. Like I I probably could have made a lot more, but I was more concerned with partying. Like I didn't care about a car. I didn't buy a nice car. Didn't upgrade my living situation. It was all for drugs and partying. Like I was just in Miami, in Vegas. Oh yeah, and we went on my boss to reward the top 5 employees. You know, our employee trip was 3 nights in Vegas, first class VIP the whole time, and then you jump on a plane and 3 nights in Miami also. So we called it like the trip of death, and we did 3 nights in each one because they were our 2 favorite cities.
And you were one of the top 5.
Yeah,
Yeah. Obviously.
At that time, yeah.
What did the insurance companies, like eventually when it goes down, what did the insurance companies, what did they say the cost of the fraud was? I know you're saying, it was only
mine was
$500,000, but
no, your guidelines are based on the total amount of the fraud, as you probably know.
Right.
Mine was right close to $3.7 million is what I cost the government, although I didn't make that near that much.
Right.
That's what I cost them. They said allegedly.
Right.
I have no idea.
It's not allegedly anymore, by the way. For them, it's official. The government's already determined this is what it is.
Well, we don't want to get to the end, but they never
Right.
They don't know. Like they could never figure out.
They kind of
exact-
guesstimated. Could be more.
Or less. Yeah, you never know. But no, to kind of get there, in May of 2015 is when everything broke down, because that's when the FBI raided our office.
Did you have any idea that this is like had any of the doctors said, "Hey, wow, listen, my office was subpoenaed, my records were subpoenaed the other day"?
No.
You had no idea. You're just living your life.
Thinking back, I should have probably seen some sign, because like my boss
There
stepped
were
down.
vans.
No,
a lot
no,
of
no.
vans following.
There was a big moving truck always outside there, but I never thought. Again, I don't. When you're manic, you're the last person that's gonna spot an FBI raid. You're in your own pleasure world with your rose-colored glasses on.
So
But
what happened?
okay, yeah. So what happened is I'm driving on the way to work, and I get a call from my buddy who works in the insurance company across the hall. He's like, "Dude, there's FBI agents all over your office." And I thought he was joking. I was like, "Shut the hell up, dude. You're making this up." But he said it like 3 more times, and he's like, "They're grabbing computers. They're even going through ceiling tiles." I was like, what the fuck is in the ceiling tiles? But anyhow, yeah, I finally believe him. So I swing my car around and I drove home and locked myself in my house. And I was like, oh shit, it's going down. So I did a couple lines of blow, of course. And then I grabbed my boxes of what I thought was incriminating evidence, like threw it in my car. And I'm just driving around to dumpsters, like tearing stuff up and throwing it in different dumpsters to kind of spread it all out, I guess. Great mastermind criminal I was. But yeah, then I just stay at home, and my buddy shows up. My best friend actually worked at the company too, and he told me what all went down. He said, they raided the office, they took everything, they took people's phones, they were interrogating people, questioning everyone, and then they finally let him go. So he came to my place. He's like, dude, we got to get a lawyer.
You drove straight here. Thank you.
Well, I expected them to show up at my house, but they never did. I think they were more just getting the evidence, because they gathered evidence on us a long time. I actually didn't get, I guess, indicted or whatever for over 4 more years after this.
Okay.
I think the statute of limitations is like 5. So they didn't charge, yeah, that's the word. They didn't charge me for like another 4 years. But yeah, that's when we got our lawyer. And that's when I found out about the 3.7 million. It's not the 500, it's the 3.7. And
what did the lawyer say how did you call a bunch of different lawyers? Like, how did you?
No.
You just called the first guy. He was
my buddy and I decided to get the same lawyer together. I wasn't in a great state of mind, so he picked the lawyer for us, and we got a discount because we both went together. We were best friends. We're just like, we don't care. None of this stuff makes sense probably. But yeah, we got the same lawyer to try to get a discount. And I was facing 7 years. He was facing more. I think it was like 9 or 10 years, because my buddy made like, I think right at $1 million. And then there were other people. There's a couple other people that made over $1 million. So yeah, I was facing up to 7 years for the 3.7. So my lawyer is basically like,
so 3.7 is what?
My loss amount.
Your loss amount.
Yeah,
But
my
what are
buddy's was
all
higher.
what are all these other people's? What's the total that must have come up during sentencing. Like, yeah, you were a part of a conspiracy that defrauded insurance companies out of a total of.
I honestly don't know
because yours is 3.5. Theirs has got to be 50 million or something.
Probably the top guy's probably near that, but they didn't say that in my sentencing because my sentencing was just me and my best friend, and they went over our loss amounts. But that's something I should probably look up. That'd be good to know.
It's good for it's good for a thumbnail. It's good.
Yeah,
for
that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking.
$100 million.
$100 million. $50 million fraud.
We'll look that up and I'll give that to you.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we just said 100 million, 50 million. So now we have reasonable cause to throw that in there.
But yeah, it'd be great to know because I mean, think about it. You came in at the tail end. These guys are already doing it. You're saying all these guys are. If you're at 3.5 and he's more than you. These other guys have to all be at least where he is or more.
Well, they hadn't started that long before me. It was just a few months before me. But
I felt like you were coming. I thought it had been going on.
It had, but it was just It was just starting.
Okay.
They'd been doing it. I don't know, less than just a few months before me.
Okay.
But it's still in the millions, of course.
Yeah. I wonder how they got onto the whole scam.
Well, what I found out later, so don't quote me on it, but I heard the owner of the pharmacy turned us in because my boss pulled all the prescriptions out of his pharmacy and wanted to take them to a different pharmacy because there was an argument between him and the pharmacy owner over the commissions, and my boss wanted more commissions, so he's like, fine. Which I think that's illegal too, to pull all the prescriptions. And so we were pharmacy shopping after that. And I heard the pharmacy owner got mad because he's losing millions of dollars. So to get back at us, turned us in.
That's insane.
The most insane part is the pharmacy owner got charged.
I was gonna say that's going to the cops and saying, "Hey, these guys are robbing banks." Well, how do you know they're robbing banks? I've been driving the getaway car.
Well, the problem is with something like that, it's very hard to prove that he was involved. It's very simple. The money wise, it's come on, a reasonable person would know this, but and just to spoil that part, he did end up getting off. So but he still had to deal with all that, being charged and all that.
Yeah, I mean, you would think your boss should have, instead of yanking them all at once, slowly just started feathering them all as they slowly dissipated anyway. He could have, if the guy had come to him and been like, "Hey man, what's going on with this?" I don't know. They're not. We're trying. They're not prescribing this. They're. I don't know what the problem. You know what I'm saying? Instead of saying, "Fuck you, I'm gonna pull all my shit." That's a bad idea.
Yeah.
You could subtly, with a little bit of patience, you could.
Yeah, there would have been a better way to do that.
You could still be going.
Yeah.
No, that's not what we're doing.
It's not what we're doing. Okay. I would have got caught eventually, I think. But then that all happens. My lawyer basically says, slow down. But and I obviously got depressed at this point. So my depression, sometimes it came for a reason, sometimes it didn't. And everybody would have been depressed from this, but obviously I spiraled into a depressive episode. So my buddy, my best friend who's involved in this, he's like, dude, we still have all our money. You're depressed. Why don't we go to Vegas, and try to kick this thing?
Did they come at what point did the cops show up and talk to you?
They never did.
You just went and got a lawyer and he called the feds?
Yeah, he found out what we were facing. I guess he looked into it. I don't know if a prosecutor, I don't know how that worked, but he told me based on the loss amount, that's what we were facing.
Okay.
But I didn't have to talk to the FBI, and we can get to that afterwards, until there was a proffer hearing that was over a year out from here. So it was over another year before I actually had to talk to the prosecution and the FBI.
So at this point, your buddy says, listen, the place to go in this situation,
it's the only place to go.
To get our heads right is Las Vegas, because it has a calming effect on everyone that goes there. It's a very mentally stable environment. I think we go to Vegas. Yeah. That's what I think.
And
you went.
Bingo, yeah.
Why did I think of that?
Well, I was like, okay, if I do the most possible drugs, maybe I can kick my depression into or stability or mania, which of course is going to be mania.
Does that make sense to you at all? If I do the most, my problem is I'm addicted to drugs. So what I really need to do is double up on the drugs, and that will.
Well, you remember what your buddy said earlier about the mania being awesome compared to the depression, and I hadn't completely. Well, I guess the FBI blew up my life, but I blew up my life way more later. So at this point, I was still, thinking the depression was the worst. So yeah, we went to Vegas. My buddy stayed 3 days, but I threw my depression into mania with all the blow I was doing, and I decided I was going to stay by myself with all my new friends, that I made there. And I ended up staying out there 12 nights in Vegas. And I ended up in the hospital while I was there. I almost got arrested because they caught me doing blow off my table in the middle of the Club Excess. That one was, I guess, crazy. They were the bouncer caught me. He's taking me to the cops, and we passed an ATM. I was like, hey, what can I give you from this to not take me to the cops? I gave him $500, and he did not take me to the cops. I got lucky with that. Ended up in the hospital because we had a VIP table, and I was pretty much blacked out. I did a flip off the cabana, and I hit the side of the pool, and my whole shin was busted up. Told me I needed stitches, but I said, just bandage me up. I want to keep partying. So that got infected, I think, on day 8 or 9. Ended up in the hospital. I'd lost 15 pounds. The doctor's like, you need to go home. You're not good. So my friends are calling me every day. They're like, come home. We're afraid you're going to die and all that. But I made it 12 nights. I wasn't gambling either. I was just pool parties, clubs, do whatever with the friends I made there.
What are your Christian parents thinking of the last 5-10 years?
Right.
They didn't know the whole extent of it till later. They knew, but they were trying to reach out to me. But during this time, I wasn't listening. When I was manic, I didn't listen to anyone. You think you know best. So my friends are calling me. My parents had reached out. They're worried. I just wasn't really talking a lot to my family at this time. So it's not their fault. That was, on me, basically.
Yeah, I was just wondering what you were thinking, what they were thinking. If they didn't know the extent of it, though.
Not at this point, no. They found out later, and they were pretty shocked, I guess. But yeah, on the 12th day, I remember I'm looking at my phone. I can barely read it because it's so hazy. I'm sweating bullets. I was like, I need to get on a plane or I'm gonna die. And yeah, I was coming in. I felt like I was coming in and out of consciousness on the plane. But I got home. My buddy says I lost close to 20 pounds. I was in bed for the next 3 days. And I ended up spending $68,000 in the 12 nights I was at Vegas.
Wow.
Without gambling.
Without gambling.
That's just on partying, yeah. Which I know some people that's not even a lot, to the really high rollers. Yeah. But for a guy that made $500,000, 68,000 is kind of a lot.
Well, it also explains how you were able to make such good friends so quickly.
Yeah, that's why I had all these new friends. Jeez. Yeah, I have pictures on my phone even. I look back, I'm like, what is this crazy entourage I had of this just ridiculousness.
Did you ever see the movie Leaving Las Vegas?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, it's horrible. Have you ever seen that with Nicolas Cage?
Nicolas Cage, yeah.
So depressing. Just horrible.
What's it about?
He goes to Las Vegas he's a drunk. He can't get better. He's lost everything. He's lost his wife. The wife's taken the kids. He knows he's just a complete derelict. And he basically goes to Las Vegas to drink himself to death. Meets a prostitute who kind of, I don't know, falls in love with him or finds him endearing. And basically, he's got money. And so she kind of takes care of him while he's doing this. And she kind of knows what's happening, and they kind of party together, but she kind of feels for him, right? It's been a while. But
it's been a while, yeah.
And,
I just remember the Nicolas Cage.
Yeah. And eventually he drinks himself. But it says he's slowly selling off everything he owns, the car, the watches, what few things he has left, he's selling off and living in a motel with this prostitute. And she's kind of, towards the end, she's taking care of him. And eventually he does drink himself. There's no happy ending. Yeah. He doesn't have an epiphany.
He doesn't hit the jackpot.
No. Yeah. No, there's no epiphany, and suddenly he decides to get sober and ends up rekindling with his wife and kids. Yeah. It's not that movie.
Yeah.
But it was a great film. You're just watching this disaster, this train wreck happen.
Yeah. And my story obviously didn't die, but I do end up in the motel part,
Right.
which we'll get to. Yeah. But so yeah, after Vegas, I'm about to move to Austin with my buddy because my best friend had found another medical thing that we can do. This one was legal though. So it was involving workman's comp claims. He told me it was legal.
This is your buddy that who's just doing the fraud with in the first place.
Yeah. So, but right before that, I'd been banned from a lot of bars in Jacksonville for doing blow or causing fights or dumb things. So I was banned from like my favorite bar, and 4th of July is coming, and we all go to that bar. So I was like, I'm gonna go by myself to Miami. I flew in this girl from New York City. And we had a falling out while I was there. I guess we deserved it. She went to bed, and I ended up bringing these people back from Club 11, like a random group of people. And I guess I left the hotel to go get more liquor, and she wakes up to people having sex in our bedroom. So obviously she left. But while we're there, I meet this other girl. After that, fall in love with her. Only know her for 2 days, but I convinced her to break up with her boyfriend in Baton Rouge and move with me to Austin. So I've got this new girl and I that moved to Austin to do the workman's comp stuff. But the workman's comp thing, it was supposed to be legal. It didn't end up working out. The pharmacy told us it was legal, but then they're like, the laws are changing. You can't do this. So we never even ended up really doing that one. But that's why we went to Austin.
What was it more cream or?
No, it wasn't cream. I honestly don't remember much because we didn't do it. But what I remember is like there was supposed to be this loophole where you can pay doctors if they write workman's comp claims a certain way. But again, we never got to do it.
Sounds legal.
This is another loophole thing.
I feel like you're calling them loopholes. I feel like the U.S. attorney would describe them as something completely different.
All I know is my buddy said the pharmacy said it was legal, but obviously then they came back and said, hey, the laws are saying it's not legal anymore. So we didn't do crime with that one at all. We were just going there to do that. But that's when that happened, I was like, shoot, I don't have work anymore. And I found out about this nightclub that was opening. It's like an after hours nightclub. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what do I like to do most? Party. I might as well invest in a nightclub. I still have my money. So I bought in with this other guy and we opened an after hours nightclub. So that was like my next thing.
You bought the existing one or you opened one?
Well, we didn't buy the club. We were renting it. So I invested $80,000 to help open a nightclub. Basically, it's a smaller one. It's in Austin, off like downtown, off the main drag. It's like a 300-person club in a basement. It was called the Vault. Mm-hmm. But yeah, me and this other guy opened it, and that wasn't good for me because I wasn't trying to make money at the club. I'm just trying to party. So instead of selling the biggest VIP section, I'm always in it with my own friends, and other owner was quickly not happy with me, and he was there to make money. I'm there to party, basically.
Right. So how's that work? How's that business partnership work out?
Well, we were making money at first, but then things got worse. So the next thing that happened is I went to the strip club with one of my buddies, and I met the most beautiful dancer I'd ever met.
Did you fall in love?
I did. So I tried to buy her a drink, and she said I can't buy her a drink, and I was like, you don't drink? And she pointed down. I hadn't been looking down, and she was wearing an ankle monitor. I was like, oh shit! But that attracted me back then for whatever reason.
Right.
So I go from being this person that's attracted to like a virgin on my wedding night to now wanting to date not just a stripper, but one with an ankle monitor. So
the old Irish jewelry, the old Irish
I've never heard it called that.
Is that what? Is that what?
I think that's what
is
he
that
said.
What Bean Shooter called it?
I think so. Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah. But yeah, we fell in love pretty quickly. So she had a boyfriend at the time. She broke up with him and moved in. Me and the other girl had already broken up a few months before. The other girl cheated on me.
How'd you see that coming? Yeah, I mean, the fact that she left her boyfriend to come with you, and then she cheated on you, like that's so out of character of her.
How you get him is how you keep him, right?
Right.
Yeah, but I also I shouldn't even give her any credit, but I didn't even mention it. I got hit with the depressive episode while we were dating. She met me manic, which obviously she liked me then, but when I was depressed, she ended up cheating on me because I don't know. It's just most people
You weren't as much fun.
Not at all. Not at all. So, but yeah, now I've got the dancer and I are living together.
The parolee. So you're with the parolee. I love it.
Yeah, but it gets worse. That's when I met my a new dealer. I got traded to a different dealer. I don't quite understand how that happens. But I really liked this new dealer that I got. We partied together all day, and he spent the night at my house, and we just kept partying for the whole week. And he didn't end up leaving my house, so I ended up letting him be my other roommate. So now I've got my dealer. His name's Satiric Poppy. He's living in my spare bedroom.
So what is he? This is not an Anglo-Saxon name.
Well, how it came about is we went to the liquor store the first day he was staying with me, and I was a big Satiric fan myself. And we found out we were both
Who's Ciroc? What is
like Diddy's drink, Ciroc, like the Ciroc, the vodka.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
It was a lot bigger back then. I don't think it's as big anymore, but
well, the marketing took a fucking hit. I mean,
maybe Ciroc Poppy could take it over, but yeah, no, we both like he introduced me to apple Ciroc. That was his favorite. I was more like a pineapple and peach Ciroc guy. So
is he an Indian? He's
Mexican.
Okay.
Poppy, you know.
Okay.
But so yeah, we basically were drinking Ciroc together, and he offhandedly says, you know, that's why they call me Ciroc Poppy, and it stuck, man.
You make friends quick.
When you're manic, and as an addict, you make friends quick, and when you're manic, like,
right.
Yeah, I would let a homeless person live with me when I was manic. It's fine. But so now I've got the dealer in the bedroom and myself and the dancer in the other room, and I own the club. Obviously, I have the prison sentence hanging over my head, but I'm not thinking about that very much because I'm manic. I start letting even more people stay with me. I've got like this bouncer sleeping on the couch.
If you sleep hot at night, you know how disruptive that can be. Whether you're having trouble falling asleep, you're waking up sweating in the middle of the night, or all of the above. That's where Ghost Bed can help. As the makers of the coolest beds in the world, Ghost Bed is your go-to for cooling mattresses, cooling pillows, and cooling bedding. From their signature Ghost Ice fabric to patented technology that adjusts to your body's temperature, every Ghost Bed mattress is designed with cooling in mind. So whether you want a plusher mattress that cushions your shoulders and hips, or a firm option with exceptional support, your Ghost Bed will keep you cool and comfortable all night long. When you purchase a Ghost Bed mattress, your comfort is guaranteed. You can try out your mattress for 101 nights, risk-free, to make sure it's the right fit for you. Plus, they offer free shipping, and most items are shipped within 24 hours. If you're not sure which Ghost Bed is right for you, check out their mattress quiz. You'll answer a few questions and get a personalized recommendation. Even better, our listeners will get 10% off for a limited time. Just visit ghostbed.com/Cox and use code Cox at the checkout. That's ghostbed.com/Cox and use code Cox for 10% off site-wide.
These two kids hit a lick because Ciroc Poppy had hired them to rob a place. They got caught on camera, so he's like, we have to protect these kids. So
We do?
I guess. I mean, you got to protect the kids.
Yeah, they sound like good kids. Like they need.
Well, the Ciroc Poppy hired them, so like, you got to protect your own, I guess. But so yeah, they're all living with me, and that's when the club really started to go downhill. The other owner was like, I can't work with this guy. To give you an idea, one night, Ciroc Poppy and I got locked in the office on accident. We were doing blow together, and we freaked out because we couldn't get out of the office. So instead of calling someone like a normal person, I threw a chair through like the glass window while the club was open, and everyone's freaking out at the club. So that was like the last straw for the owner. He already hated me, so he he's like, either you or I need to leave the club. So yeah, I ended up buying him out, and then I owned the whole place by myself. But that's once I did that, all the workers quit basically pretty soon after that, because they didn't like me either. I was a menace basically, so they didn't want to work for me.
A menace in what way? You were just causing problems?
Yeah.
Or?
Like I wasn't good to work for. Like I'm always like walking around, dropping bottles, just being. I wasn't the type of person you'd want to work for as a boss.
Right.
Throwing chairs through windows, just.
Yeah, makes sense to me. How long does and you still have the parole? You're still dating the parolee?
Yeah.
And how long does this go on?
So Ciroc Poppy lived with me about 2 months.
Fucking name, man. Go okay.
That got bad though, because at that point, since he's right there instead of a phone call away, at that point I was buying an 8-ball a day from him. I wasn't doing it all myself. I was sharing it with all my friends. But
Yeah, you're a good friend.
a lot of people were around all the time. But so yeah, that lasted a couple more months. Then finally, so after all the people quit the club, I started bringing in new people. But I started bringing in my friends, like the bad friends. So there's this guy, I call him Method David. I thought he was a lawyer though, because he told me he was a lawyer. His brother was actually a lawyer, but he like knew lawyer talk and stuff. So he started staying with me, and he was always borrowing my clothes, but I thought he just liked the fit, not. So I was like, whatever, this lawyer likes my clothes. But so I let him become the manager of the club after that, and I started letting these other people that should have had no business running the club, but they're like my friends and all that, and they start stealing from me, and the club just quickly starts going downhill. The club was only open like 4 months, and I just ran it into the ground basically. But how Ciroc Poppy and I had a falling out is I let him run the club one night, and I believe he stole from me. The cash was light. Back then you had a lot more cash. This is 2016. So I confronted him about it, and he sucker punched me in the face, and that's when I had to kick him out.
Okay. He's his self-preservation. That's more like how you're about to be on the street if you, instead of just saying I didn't do it. Okay, so why does the club?
I can't service the rent anymore.
Right. It just
Basically,
closes?
Yeah, I just had to close it.
And you out of money at this point?
It's very close to that. So after he leaves, I know it doesn't seem like it could get any worse, but it got slightly worse before that, because my ex with the ankle monitor, she normally would just drink like GHB, because it made her feel like she was drunk. But I guess she messed up one night and drank, and she ended up having to go to jail for the ankle monitor. And I didn't bail her out because...
You mean she failed a
sobriety test or whatever. Yeah. So she had to go to jail, and I didn't bail her out. So she got mad at me. And so she was not living with me anymore. So I've got like these new people moving in. I met some new people. This girl named Old Girl. She was a hooker. I let her live in my spare bedroom.
Her name was Old Girl?
Old Girl. She's a little black girl.
Old Girl.
But she wasn't old. She was in her 20s.
Okay.
But my friend T-Rex, my new friend.
Have your parents seen these interviews?
My parents refuse to read my book. No. Because there's too much cursing and bad things in it. You remember they're very
right.
Christian. They won't read my book. But or watch my videos. But yeah, T-Rex became one of my new bouncers. He introduced me to Old Girl. I know this sounds ridiculous. But
what does T-Rex look like?
He's a skinny black, very
little arm.
Everyone says that. His arms weren't really too short. I never knew these guys' real names. That's the crazy thing. Never bothered to ask. I have no idea what Old Girl's real name is or T-Rex. But T-Rex introduced me to old girl because like,
Do you have any idea how insane you sound? Like if you went to like a family reunion or a family dinner and you're sitting there and you're having to explain your week. Well, listen, man, T-Rex has got, he's got the place, he's holding the place down, Mom. And old girl, she was cleaning earlier, so, and then Bob, whatever Poppy, I forget what the name
Ciroc
is. Ciroc Poppy. They just be like, who is this person?
I get it. It makes, it's pretty, from where I started to here does not make any sense. But yeah, so why old girl moved in, T-Rex said she could watch the place while I was gone because I kept losing my keys. So my landlord was like threatening to evict me because I had a bunch of keys made. And I was losing everything at this point, just all my possessions because I'm fucked up all the time. So T-Rex is like, hey, old girl will watch your place in exchange for doing tricks in the spare bedroom. And I was like, what is a trick? And I didn't know. And he explains it. He's like, don't worry. She has clientele she's had for a while. They won't steal from you or whatever. I'm like, okay. So I let her do tricks in the spare bedroom in exchange for watching the place while I was gone.
So now you're running a bordello.
I wasn't taking any money from it though. I was just letting her watch the place.
I don't know why you think that matters. You keep saying like I did the scam. I only made $500,000. Like, yes, but the cost of the insurance company $3.5. Like that's not how they look at it.
No,
you don't get to go in front of the judge and say, Your Honor, they've got me in the 3.5 million loss category, but I only made $500,000. The judge doesn't say, oh, let's go ahead and let's get rid of that 3 million and drop it to 5.
But I didn't know it. If I would have known how that worked with the 3.7,
it would have changed anything.
No,
you'd have just hustled more.
But that would have been interesting to know. I was like, wow, that's a crazy way they do it. But it makes sense to me now. But back then it didn't. But I mean, all this story obviously shows how much mania and drugs can like really alter your mind, and the two together are the worst combination because like blow and mania is just the worst combination. You have the most confidence. You're doing the dumbest things all the time. And I didn't think this was that. I thought it was funny. Like instead of dumb, I thought it was funny. So like normally at a club, you would hire the biggest guys to be your bouncers. I just thought it was funny. I was like, I'm going to hire T-Rex and Bones, the two skinniest guys, to be my bouncers just because I'm going to be funny about it. And they got beat up, of course. So I had to hire Bert and Edgar instead to be the bouncers. But so yeah, but that's when everything fell apart. So soon after that, me and my ex get back together. She's like, you have to kick these crazy people out of your apartment.
An old girl can't keep. An old girl's got to stop drinking out of the spare room.
Yeah.
Or she's got to pay us.
No, she had to go. So yeah, I kick all these people out. I mean, it's just me and my ex, the dancer again. But that's when we get it all happened around the same time. I got an eviction notice on my condo and
Why?
The club. Why? I couldn't afford it.
Seems like an ideal tenant.
But and yeah, I brought my eviction note. It's pretty funny. Like the owner was like, there is a large amount of I don't remember the word he used, like nefarious people always at this place or whatever. So yeah, I have this eviction notice, and right around the same time, the club goes under because I can't service the rent. So pretty much all around the same time, I end up kind of losing everything.
Okay.
So I blew through. To give you an idea, I blew through over 500,000 plus my 401k and whatever money I'd made at Fidelity. So I'm guessing it's closer to 700,000 that I blew through.
In what period of time?
About a year.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Then about a year, I blew through about 700. I'm guessing $700,000. Lost it all. And this is another way I can show you how like the mania and the addiction manifests. Most smart people, when they're evicted, would like, I had really nice furniture. I left everything in the condo. We only packed like a couple suitcases and what we could fit in my car, and I lost not only I lost all the furniture and everything as well. And we ended up we had to live out of a dirt cheap motel is what I call them, like Super 8s and, the cheap motels basically. The only money we had coming in at that point was from my dancer ex. And she used to make a lot of money at first, but she was going down the rabbit hole with this partying like I was. So she was not, we were both like a sight for sore eyes, not feeling or looking our best. So she's barely pulling in enough money for us to live now, and we're living out of these cheap motels. So it's quite a quick change.
What are you doing for money? Nothing?
So my depression again hit here, as you can guess. The mania finally ran its course on this one, and I could not get a job. When I'm depressed like this, I can't think very well. I bombed over 20 job interviews.
I was going to say Fidelity didn't take you back right away, didn't say.
No. Now I still don't have, at this point, I still didn't have the felony yet. So, but I wasn't in any shape of mind to get a job, like a finance job. So I was just bombing interview after interview after interview. Because if they asked any question that wasn't kind of by the book, like my mind couldn't think.
Right.
Like when it's hard. Like I guess the best way to describe it is when I was dating the other girl that cheated on me, I went to visit her family while I was depressed, and they asked her if something was wrong with me. They're like, "Is he all the way there?" Like they thought I had a mental handicap because of how slow I was acting. And that's when, during my depression, my mind was literally that slow that I could not get a job. So yeah, I go from owning this club with these crazy characters to now I can't even get like a regular job. Besides the mental hospital, this is like the darkest part of my life probably.
How long does this go on before, doesn't at some point the government comes in, right? Like, are you still keeping in contact with this lawyer? Are you just waiting to get arrested?
Yeah, I'm still waiting. He's basically like, they're gonna charge you at some point. But so after a couple, we live in the motels a couple months. Then we end up getting a small studio apartment. Again, we had no furniture, so it was like this scene where at Target, all we can afford is an air mattress, peanut butter and jelly, like lunch meat, ramen, and so I go from living this lavish life to having an air mattress in this like small studio apartment, basically, with the prison time hanging over my head. So obviously, anyone would have been depressed, but that made my depression way worse. But so at that point though, is when I had to go to my proffer hearing. You probably know what a proffer hearing is, right? Okay, so I had to go to Jacksonville. This is where us all went down, is Jacksonville, for a proffer hearing. And basically for a proffer hearing, they are going to try to show you, at least in mine, they were going to show you everything they have or enough of what they have against you to try to get you to plead guilty.
Right.
But I'm really depressed and, I can't think very well. So I'm like, shit, this is going to go very badly. I think I didn't know how many questions they're going to ask me, whatever. So I ended up popping like half a Xanax.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, but then I did a couple bumps also, a few bumps to like even myself out. So I was like high when I went to meet with the FBI. And my lawyer could tell when he saw me. He asked me a few times, like, "Are you okay? Like, are you sure you're okay?" And I felt better because I wasn't as nervous about saying the wrong thing. But yeah, when I got in there, it didn't start well. It was like the FBI agent. There was an IRS agent. I'm not quite sure why the IRS gets involved in these things. But it's like FBI agent, IRS agent, and the prosecutor. And the FBI agent started the meeting not very well. He pulled out my bank statements and he pulled up my Vegas charges, the 68,000. He's like, "Mr. Funes, looks like you had one hell of a time in Vegas." And I was like, "Oh gosh, like this guy already," like it was sarcastically, I was like, "This guy already hates me." So didn't start well. He showed me a bunch of evidence. They showed me a bunch of evidence they had against me. I didn't have to make a decision then. And I didn't even need the Xanax and the blow because like I didn't have to talk a lot, luckily. But they're like, "Okay, you need to decide." They gave me like a timeline to figure out what I was going to do, like plead guilty or innocent.
Right.
So yeah, that proffer happened, but I didn't actually get charged until I think it was 4.5 years later. So FBI raided my office May of 2015. In 2019 is when I finally got charged, and I was charged with conspiracy to commit healthcare fraud, mail fraud, and wire fraud were like my charges.
What did you do for a living between? I'm assuming that the stripper didn't support you for the next 4 years.
No, I'm glad. Yeah, because I'm glad you came back to that. So not long after that, I went to I was at my wit's end, man. I was so depressed. So I finally, at my wit's end, went to a psychiatrist who I still have today, and he was the best psychiatrist I've had. He really spent time poring over everything I'd been on. I felt like a lot of doctors were just quick to throw medication at me, but this guy like really seemed to care. And I finally, I think at this point I'm like 30, early 30s, like right around early 30s. But so from 20 to early 30s, I had not been able to find the right meds. But he finally put me on like the right combo of meds for me. And about a month later, I was finally feeling stable and like what a normal person would feel like. And it just got better from there. We were about to be evicted from the apartment because we couldn't pay, but finally I'm able to get a job. So I got a job back in finance because I hadn't been charged yet. This is 2018.
Right.
So I got a job in finance again, and I started making good money and turned everything around. But that was so hard because, man, like it's hard to like have a life when you know this thing's hanging over your head.
It's hard to make plans.
Yeah, every day of my life, you're like thinking about this basically. And they ran a background check, and I was okay to get the job. But what I was charged in 2019, technically I wasn't supposed to be a financial advisor anymore, and I feel bad about it now. But I kept working there because I was like afraid with the felony that I wouldn't be able to get another job. So basically I just keep working this job, and they didn't know, anything about my former life, which is crazy because, I mean, you're meeting me now. When I'm stable on my meds, I'm more like this. So no one at my work would ever think that I'm like having T-Rex and Ciroc Poppy.
Right.
Like no one would ever guess that. So like everyone just thinks I'm this straight-laced, like normal person.
Did you work there up till sentencing?
No.
And what happened with the girl?
Okay. Yeah.
Because now she's dating you're dating a financial manager as opposed to the lunatic bar owner, drug addict. Now you're dating a financial manager who's on his meds. I'm assuming you're not doing drugs anymore.
No, so pretty soon after getting stable, I quit doing drugs. And everyone's addiction is different, but my addiction was very much tied to my bipolar because I'd never wanted or even thought about doing drugs until
it's
the
kind of
bipolar
self-medicating,
started.
right?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I'm assuming
It's when you're depressed.
It's a way to cope with it.
When you're depressed, it's self-medicating. When you're manic, it just feels great.
Right.
You think at the time until you blow up your life, like I did.
So did she quit? She quit the stripping job and went back to community college and got her degree.
She did quit the stripping job. We were able to get her involved in a vet clinic. And honestly, that's probably one of the craziest. We kind of glossed over it, but maybe one of the craziest parts of the story is the fact that she stayed with me and supported me. She met me when I was a club owner,
Right.
and I had a baller life, and then I've got nothing, and she's still staying with me. I think my buddy's mind was blown because to him, he thought she was like one of the most beautiful girls in town, and he could not believe this girl had so many options, and she's like still with me. But she really loved me like that. It's hard for me to believe, but we ended up dating for 4 years. We stayed together 4 years, but the problem was, and like I don't even want to talk badly about the relationship because me and her are still close. Like I still care a lot about her, but her dad passed away, and she also started self-medicating, because of that, and it just got to the point where I couldn't handle it. There was a lot of blackouts. I didn't know where she was. And I don't think she'd ever purposely do anything wrong. But when you're blacked out all the time, like all bets are off. So my anxiety was through the roof. And I for about a year, like I tried, because she'd been with me through my worst. So I stayed with her through like another year of all that. But I finally was like, I can't do this anymore. I couldn't be around that stuff. So finally broke up with her. But the good thing about it, it's a happy ending for her. She's got 2 kids now. She's in a great relationship, and she's doing what she loves. So it worked out well for her. But yeah, we dated 4 years.
So at some point, you're going to be sentenced.
So in 19,
Do any of these guys, any of your co-defendants, are you still during this period of time? Were you communicating with any of them, and did any of them think, "Hey, I'm going to trial"? They can't prove this.
Okay, so only my best friend and I were communicating because we're basically tied into everything. We decided when we got charged in 2019 to plead guilty. So it was kind of a mix. They basically charged the top like 13 guys in my company. Basically, there were people that made money, but a lot less. That they were just like, it seemed like you had to be in the hundreds of thousands to be like charged, probably, because there was someone I knew that made like 50K and they didn't even charge him. So I think there's too many people. They can't even charge the people that were paying under the table. That just gets to hundreds of people. So yeah, the top people got charged. My boss and the pharmacy owner, they both obviously they were facing a lot of time, but both like multi-millions. I don't know the exact amount of dollars that they owed. So they both were decided to go to trial, and then kind of like half of us decided to plead guilty right away. The other half were deciding they were going to trial. So that's 4.5 years later in 19. So in 2021, I had my first sentencing hearing, and because I pled guilty right away, I think the FBI and the prosecution and all that knew by looking at me and seeing me. They knew a bit about my bipolar, my drug use. They never asked me to testify, luckily, so I got lucky with that. But I did plead guilty. But because I pled guilty, when I was in the courtroom, man, that was like one of the scariest days for me. Being it's you probably experienced it too. It's kind of like an out of body, isn't it? Kind of like an out of body.
Yeah, it's very
feeling.
surreal.
Like, that's the exact word I use. Yeah. And I didn't know what they were gonna. I knew they weren't gonna recommend 7 years because I pled. So they and ended up the prosecutor recommended 2.5 years for me instead of 7. Which still felt like a lot, for someone. I up to that point, I'd only spent one night in jail. I didn't even tell that story, but I drank lean for my first time with T-Rex and ended up blacking out and punching in a window allegedly because I mixed the.
You're saying allegedly.
I don't know if I did it or not.
They arrested you for it. Somebody said you did it.
They said I matched the description of the person that did it. But I woke up in jail. I don't even remember being arrested. I woke up in a jail cell not knowing why I was there. Like I didn't find out till the next day why I was there. Like I had no clue. Like because I like mixed the lean with blow, and I guess that made me aggressive. I think I did it. I do.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, probably. When the cops put me in the car, like they're like, "Did you do this?" And I guess I said, "Prove it."
Did you say allegedly?
No, I said prove,
allegedly.
I said, "Prove it," and they hauled me away. Okay, so but going back to so in the court, I'm facing 2.5 years. I think I would have got that probably, but when I was, you get to address the judge.
Yeah.
And I realized very quickly when I was telling my whole story that she didn't understand the extent of my bipolar, which makes sense now because the pre-sentencing report is not
kind of glazed over it.
Yeah. So I start explaining it to her, and then I said, Your Honor, I brought some of the paperwork, with me, and she actually let me approach the bench and give like my hospitalization. I had tons of paperwork, and she did not understand the extent of my bipolar because of pre-sentencing report. And then my mom and my brother got up and talked about the huge difference like in my life. And then at the end of the sentencing, she, my lawyer had never seen this before, but she said, Mr. Funes, I didn't understand the extent of your mental illness. I need to reconvene at another time. I need to think about this, basically. So I did not get sentenced that day. I probably would have got the 2.5 years.
Yeah, I was going to say that's good that the judge went back and thought about it.
Yeah. So I'm back to work again. I'm still a financial advisor during this time. So like they didn't even know that I went to court for my sentencing. I don't know. They probably thought I was on vacation or something. But so I go back to that job, and my actual sentencing doesn't happen until December of 2024. So 3 years later. So I had to wait 3 more years.
That's nuts.
Well, what happened is the judge decided that she was going to sentence everyone at the same time. And this case, like you can even look into it, there's so many like twists and turns in it. First of all, normally in a federal case, if you go to, you normally lose, right? It's like a 90 something percent chance. Well, so 4 people went to trial in the end. Everyone else ended up pleading, and 2 got off at trial. Two were, and then 2 were declared guilty. But then one of the bosses that pled guilty was actually able to get a new trial, but then he ended up not even having to go to trial because there was like alleged misconduct, witness type stuff. So he got this guy was facing 20 years. He got the whole case thrown out in the end. But because of all these twists and turns, this ended up being the longest case my lawyer ended up being a part of. Like I said, May of 2015, when it started, December of 24 was my final sentencing.
Okay.
But before that happened, my work ended up finding out in January of 23 it was, that my work found out, about, they ran like another routine background check, and
How'd that conversation go?
Not well, I got fired. Yeah. I feel really bad about that.
David,
now.
Can you come in the HR real quick?
Yeah. And I knew exactly. I could tell something was off that day. And when they called me in, I was like, I know exactly what's about to happen.
At what point do you start your Instagram page or start talking on social media?
Not till later. So this is January of 23 that I got fired. This is gonna sound crazy, kind of. I was on probation for 5 years, basically, during this time. But I was on the lightest probation ever. Like, they called me once a year.
Right.
Basically. Have you ever heard of probation like
Yeah.
that? Okay. See, like most people think probation, you're going in every week.
They have different levels of it. And Jess was, I've known a couple of guys that it's non-supervised. There's like non-supervised, supervised release or a pretrial release, non-supervised. So it's, sometimes they have you just fill out a form once a month.
Yeah, no, I didn't. Yeah,
or you can go online and you just answer. Have you been arrested recently? No. Have you used alcohol in the last month? No. Or have you been around firearms? No. Have you been?
Yeah. So
you didn't do the monthly thing?
No, I didn't do the monthly thing either.
I think Jess still had to do that. My wife.
Okay. The guy would call me like once a year and go through those kind of questions, but I didn't have to do it online. So when I got fired, I was like, in my mind, I was like, how can I like turn this into something good in my life? So I decided to, I'd always wanted to go on like a trip to Asia. So I took a solo trip. I bought a one-way ticket to Vietnam because they didn't ever take my passport because like it'd been going on for 4 years.
Yeah.
So they were like, this guy's not going to be a flight risk. But I ended up staying in Asia for 6 months. And while
Wow.
I know. Yeah.
I'm assuming you had some savings.
I got, I was making really good money at this finance job. So I went from being homeless to working my way up to like the top producer at that company too before I got fired. I had some good savings, and Asia's cheap.
Yeah.
So I stayed out there 6 months, but while I was in Bali, like at the end, I did the whole eat, pray, love thing, the whole cliche thing. You're in the rice fields, and I was like, I've been through a lot in my life, and I've been kind of like, I've been selfish about trying to make money. Like, I really want to try to help people with this. And I didn't know how to help people, really. I was just like, I'm going to figure it out. So that's when I started doing everything. So when I got back, I was like, I'm going to go to Toastmasters to learn. What I really originally wanted to do was like start speaking at mental health events and talking about bipolar and being like really open about it, because not a lot of people and not a lot of men are very open about it. So it started out with that. Then I started posting on social media, but it wasn't getting a lot. Like I wasn't telling my stories because I didn't want people to think, oh, he's, I was trying to be more serious and talk about bipolar, but it wasn't catching on. Like some people were following me, but it wasn't like a lot, And then I was also starting to do a little coaching on the side, basically. But I ended up I was living with my parents at this time because I couldn't get a job because of the felonies. I got denied by Uber, DoorDash. Everyone basically was denying me. So finally got a job as a delivery driver. Ended up being a delivery driver for another company, and then Amazon finally gave me a chance. So I'm in 100-degree heat in Texas delivering boxes, but that was good for me. It taught me a lot of things, I think. But that's when I really, right before my sentencing is where kind of he asked about my social media. That's where that kind of took off, because I made a video on the way to my sentencing. Because I was like, I don't know. I was like I'd been documenting working at Amazon. I was like, I want to document. I knew I was going to come back from all this. I always knew that. So I was documenting it as being a delivery driver, doing all these things. And I was like, I'm going to document my sentencing. I don't think people normally do that. So I made this video. I'm like, I'm in the airport on the way to my prison sentencing. I don't know what's going to happen, this or that. And that video got like 3 million views. And all these people are like, we got to find out what's going to happen with this guy. So then I go to my sentencing, though. Again, that same surreal feeling. But this time, I didn't know what they were going to say. But this time, the prosecutor recommended time served, no prison for me, and my buddy also. A lot of it had to do with the top people getting off due to the issues with the prosecution. We had our third prosecutor by this time also, and I think they were just like ready to
when that
get
happens,
this
it's
over
usually
with.
it's usually good.
Yeah.
Everybody I know, because they get to a point they're like, I don't want to have to relearn this whole case.
Yeah.
And they try and offer you a better deal
Yeah.
because they want to be prosecuting cases that they were there from the very beginning onward, so they understand the case.
Yeah. So I think for me, they recommended time served, and for my buddy, time served plus probation, because they said he was like a lot more culpable than me, but we both ended up getting time served. And everyone in the case got time served except for 2 people. I told you one of the pharmacy owner got completely was not convicted. My boss, they said they ended up throwing out his case. Everyone else got time served except the top 2 people. But these other 2 people had prior felonies, so I guess they had to give them time. But instead of getting multiple years, one guy got 4 months and one guy got a year. So, but we did, and I know, and should I have gone to jail? Maybe. I don't know. Like I do take responsibility for everything I did, even though I am bipolar. Like I know what I did is wrong, and I admit that. But I did have to go 9.5 years every single day, with this hanging over my head. So I know I was mentally in prison, if not physically, for like a whole decade.
What are you doing now? I mean, are you still just the social media? Are you actually talking at mental health clinics, or what was it you said?
Yeah, I wanted to do more mental health conferences and things like
conferences.
that.
Okay.
So mainly, right. So yeah, kind of where we're at right now is, so yeah, after that, the social media kind of took off, and I've been trying to be the best mental health advocate I can be, just trying to be really vulnerable and authentic about bipolar. But I realized through doing it, like the stories are what people really gravitate towards. And a lot of people have felt less alone through them and some people have done as crazy things as I have that are bipolar, but a lot of people can identify with the basic, these types of crazy decisions. So I feel like I've been able to hopefully help a lot of people through that. I've been able to coach a lot of people. I wrote a book about all this.
Where's the book?
It's right here, Manic in Miami.
Why'd you go? Why Miami? Does the bulk of this take place in Miami?
Well, a lot of it takes place in Florida, but like a few of the chapters take place in Miami through partying.
It was catchy.
It's very catchy.
Manic in Miami was catchy.
Very catchy. But also 4 of the stories take place there. I mean, because we lived in Jacksonville, but you don't want to party in Jacksonville, so we were always in Miami partying.
Why? Are there pictures? At least you have pictures of the strippers.
Well, so on the front, I have Felicia with the heart of gold. So I put the heart there. FBI, of course, that's me. Apple Ciroc and Ciroc Poppy. Oh yeah, Method David, the lawyer. And why I have him with the weight is he always was doing push-ups because he was on meth. He was always doing push-ups or lifting weights at random hours. So the book, though, like how I wrote it is the first 200 pages are just all these crazy stories, plus a bunch more I didn't have time to tell. But then the second part is like called The Comeback, and it's like 100 pages of how I came back from rock bottom, because I don't want to just tell crazy stories. I want to like encourage people who are struggling that, you know, there's hope for them. So that's kind of, the book's like a 2-part thing, entertaining stories and then kind of an encouragement of how I came back from everything.
Yeah, you have to be. It's so much easier to educate people if you can entertain them. You know what I'm saying?
I didn't know that at first. Like I was actually scared to tell my stories because like my buddies kept being like, you have to tell your stories. But I was like, I don't want people to think I'm in any way like glorifying it or anything like that, because
people are going to be jerk offs anyway and think that no matter what if you sat here and cried the entire time and apologized the whole time, they'd still say there's still going to be some jerk off out there that's going to say that, you know, oh, he's not really sorry, he's fake. It's like, what, you know, like some people, you just cannot make some of these jerk offs happy no matter what. So to placate to them at all isn't even worth it. Like it's like, no, you know what, I'm going to do this the way I want to do it. You'll figure it out.
But yeah, that's where my heart is now, is really helping other people who are struggling by sharing my story. But I'm not completely doing it full time. Like obviously I'm making some money from these things, but I actually, instead of working for Amazon, I now have another sales job. It took me forever to get it. I had to like interview for so many things, but I was like, I'm going to do everything the right way and be open. Like, so I told them going in about everything and they appreciated my honesty. It's not an easy job. I'm cold calling 100 plus calls a day. So it's not like this fun, crazy job, but I'm doing what I really am inspired to do, which is helping other people. And hopefully that'll be full time at some point. But if not, you know, I'm a lot more happy now doing this, you know, and knowing that I'm helping people.
Hey, you guys, I appreciate you watching. Do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you get notified of videos like this. If you want to go and follow David and his journey on Instagram and TikTok, we're going to leave the link in the description so you can click on it and go straight there, but also the link for his Amazon book so you can go there and buy the book. Also, if you're interested in coming on the show, go into the description box and there is a link to fill out a form. You can click on the link, go there and leave like a 3-minute video? It's like a short intro video, and you fill out a little form. Super easy. It's going to help us get great guests and clean up some of the riffraff that we've been interviewing. No, just joking. But I really appreciate you guys watching. Thank you very much. See ya.